chosen one. There are moments in time that look ordinary on the outside, but in the unseen realm, they shake eternity itself. May 31st was one of those moments. And what makes this different, what makes this impossible to ignore, is that you were at the center of it. You didn't hear the sound, but heaven did. You didn't see the shift, but the spiritual realm responded instantly. Because something you did, something so real, so unfiltered, so deeply aligned with truth, rose like a signal straight into the heart of heaven. And in that very second, something extraordinary happened. The movement of angels slowed. The atmosphere changed. Attention turned toward you. This was not coincidence. This was not luck. This was recognition. There are billions of people moving through their lives every day, making choices, speaking words, thinking thoughts. But what you did carried a frequency that is rare. It carried sincerity without condition, faith without proof, obedience without applause. And that is what caused the reaction. Heaven doesn't respond to noise. It responds to truth. And your action, whether you realized it or not, was pure truth. Archangel Michael stepped forward at that moment, not as a distant observer, but as a divine protector responding to a signal that could not be ignored. His presence carried urgency, authority, and something even deeper, confirmation. Because what you triggered was not small. You may be wondering right now, what did I do? Was it that moment you chose to walk away instead of reacting? Was it when you held on to faith even though everything around you told you to give up? Was it when you showed kindness, even while carrying your own pain? You see, heaven measures differently. It is not about how big the action looks, it is about how real it is. And what you did was real enough to shift something that had been still for a long time. There was a delay and you broke it. There was a barrier and you moved it. There was a silence and your spirit answered it. This is why the message is reaching you now, with intensity and precision. Because when heaven reacts this quickly, it means something has already been set into motion. A response has already been released. A divine answer is already forming its way toward your life. And Archangel Michael is making one thing clear: this is not random. You were seen. You were heard. And now, you are being answered. There is a divine reward connected to this moment. Something that matches the weight of your action. Not something temporary. Not something surface level. But something intentional. Designed specifically for you because of what you have just done. This is why the message carries urgency. Because blessings like this are not just received, they are stepped into. And right now, you are standing at the edge of something that is about to unfold. Something that will confirm that your faith was not wasted. Something that will show you that your unseen moments were never ignored. Something that will reveal that heaven has been watching you far more closely than you ever imagined. But before that unfolds, you must understand the truth behind what happened. Because the action you took was not just an action. It was a signal. And that signal has just been answered. Tell me, are you ready to uncover what your action truly set into motion? There is something you must understand now, and it may shift the way you see your own life forever. What happened on May 31st was not about a grand display or a dramatic moment that the world could applaud. It was something far quieter yet far more powerful. It was a hidden action, one that did not seek recognition, but carried a depth that reached beyond the physical and into the spiritual realm. You see, heaven is not moved by performance. It is wooed by authenticity. And what you did came from a place that cannot be faked, copied, or forced. It came from the core of who you are, your spirit responding in truth, even when it would have been easier to choose otherwise. There are moments in life where you are given a choice that no one else fully sees. A moment where you can follow fear or stand in faith. A moment where you can react out of pain or rise above it with grace. A moment where you can hold on tightly to what hurts you or release it, even when it feels impossible. That was the kind of moment you face. And instead of choosing what was easy, you chose what was right. That choice, though it may have seemed small to you, sent out a ripple that moved through dimensions you cannot see. It carried a signal of alignment, a signal that said, I trust, even now. I believe, even here. I will not turn away. That is what heaven responded to. There is a divine principle that has always existed, a law that governs the unseen just as gravity governs the physical world. It is the law of seed and harvest. Every action, every intention, every decision plants something. And what is planted in truth and faith does not disappear, it multiplies. On May 31st, you planted something powerful, not in the ground but in the spiritual realm. And what makes this moment extraordinary is that your seed was not planted in comfort. It was planted in pressure. It was planted in uncertainty. It was planted in a space where many would have chosen doubt, hesitation, or even surrender. What you did, you held your ground. Even if your voice trembled, even if your heart questioned, even if you felt alone in that moment, you still chose alignment. And that is what caused the shift. Heaven recognized the weight of that decision because it revealed something about you that cannot be ignored. It revealed that your faith is not dependent on perfect conditions. It revealed that your spirit is not easily shaken. It revealed that even when things are unclear, you are willing to stand in truth. That kind of faith is rare, and rarity draws attention. Archangel Michael saw this clearly. As the protector and warrior of divine order, he responds when alignment disrupts resistance. And your action disrupted something that had been trying to hold you back. It interrupted a pattern. It broke a cycle. It sent a message into the unseen that said, this one is not turning back. That is why things are beginning to move now. Because your action gave permission for something greater to enter. There are times when blessings are delayed, not because they are denied, but because something has not yet aligned. Something has not yet opened the door. But when you made that decision, when you acted from truth, you unlocked something. You opened a door that had been waiting for you. And now, what is on the other side of that door is beginning to respond. You may not see it yet. You may not feel the full impact yet. But movement has already begun. The seed has already been recognized. The response has already been released. This is not a distant promise. This is a present reality that is unfolding step by step. What you did mattered more than you realize. And now, you are about to understand why heaven reacted the way it did, why angels took notice, and why your moment of quiet obedience became something that could not be overlooked. Because what you carried in that moment was powerful enough to change everything. There is a truth rising now that you must fully receive, because it explains everything that followed your action on May 31st. Heaven was not surprised by your existence, but it was deeply moved, shaken, even, by your response in that moment. And that is what makes this so rare, so powerful, and so worthy of what is now being released toward you. You must understand, heaven sees everything. Every thought, every hesitation, every silent prayer, every hidden struggle, it is all known. But what happened on that day stood out in a way that caused a reaction among the angels themselves. Not because it was loud or dramatic, but because it carried something so genuine that it cut through layers of resistance that had been surrounding you for a long time. There are many who say they believe, many who speak words of faith, many who claim alignment when things are going well. But when pressure comes, when uncertainty rises, when the outcome is unclear, most step back, most retreat, most choose safety over truth. But you didn't. And that is what shocked heaven. Because in that exact moment, when you could have chosen fear, you chose trust. When you could have reacted from pain, you chose restraint. When you could have closed your heart, you chose to keep it open, even if it hurt. That kind of response is not common, is not easy, and it is not something that can be imitated. It is born from a deep place within the spirit, a place that has been refined through trials, shaped through waiting, and strengthened through moments where giving up felt easier than holding on. The angels witnessed this. They saw the weight of what you were carrying. They saw the internal battle you were facing. They saw the thoughts that tried to pull you away from alignment. And yet, they also saw the decision you made to stand firm, to stay true, to move in a way that honored something higher. That is why there was a reaction. Because in the unseen realm, your action broke something. It broke through a barrier that had been resisting your progress. It disrupted a pattern that had been trying to repeat itself in your life. It silenced a voice that had been whispering doubt, fear, and limitation into your spirit. And when that break happened, everything shifted. Archangel Michael recognized this instantly. As the one who stands in defense of truth and alignment, he does not respond to surface-level actions. He responds to moments where something real takes place. Moments where a soul chooses light over darkness, truth over illusion, faith over fear. And that is exactly what you did. This is why his presence moved forward with urgency. Because your action was not just personal, it was transformational. It changed your position in the spiritual realm and marked a turning point. It declared that you are no longer operating from the same level as before. And with that declaration comes a response. A divine reward is not given randomly. It is released in alignment with what hath been demonstrated. And what you demonstrated on May 31st was something that carried weight, authority, and truth. Heaven does not ignore that. Heaven responds to that. Right now, something is being prepared specifically for you. Not because you asked loudly, not because you demanded it, but because your spirit aligned with something greater at the right moment. And that alignment opened the way for a response that cannot be stopped. This is why you may begin to feel a shift within yourself. A sense that something is different. A quiet knowing that something is about to change. That is not your imagination. That is confirmation. Because when heaven moves, it leaves a trace. And you are beginning to feel it. And now listen carefully, because this moment requires your awareness. The same faith that brought you here must now remain steady. Do not question what is unfolding. Do not doubt what is being prepared. Do not step back now that the door has begun to open. You are closer than you think. What shocked heaven is now about to bless you. And what you did in silence is about to be answered in a way that will speak louder than anything you have experienced before. If this message is reaching your spirit, then respond without hesitation. Type "I receive the mystery" in the comments if this is speaking to your spirit. Blessing code 731 has just been released over your life. And as this revelation settles into your heart, understand this: there is a greater flow being activated right now. If your spirit feels called to be part of this mission, to help carry these messages to others who are still waiting for their moment, then step into that calling. There is a link in the description where you can send your offering through PayPal, or you can use the Super Thanks feature right here. This is not just support, it is a seed being planted into a movement that is reaching souls across the world. The word says, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." This is not just a verse. It is a living promise speaking directly to you now. Say it within yourself. I am part of this mission. I release my seed in faith. As you give, may your life overflow with the same divine response that has just been released over you. Act now. Step forward. And allow your obedience to multiply beyond what you can see. There are moments when heaven observes and there are moments when heaven intervenes. What happened after your action on May 31st was not passive observation. It was intervention. And at the center of that response, Archangel Michael stepped forward with unmistakable authority. This is not symbolic. This is not distant. This is direct. Archangel Michael is not called upon for ordinary moments. His presence is known in times of spiritual significance, when something must be defended, when truth must be upheld, and when a shift has occurred that requires immediate alignment. And your action was one of those moments. When you made that decision, when you chose alignment over fear, you didn't just affect your own path. You sent a signal that activated protection, order, and divine movement around you. And Archangel Michael responded because what you did positioned you for something greater, something that now must be guarded and guided. His presence carries strength, clarity, and precision. And right now, that presence is near you. Not in a way that overwhelms, but in a way that stabilizes. In a way that ensures that what has begun cannot be interrupted, delayed, or taken from you. Because once a divine shift like this is recognized, it is secured. You may have felt something recently, an unexplainable calm, a sudden sense of clarity, or even a quiet strength rising within you. That is not random. That is part of this alignment. That is the effect of divine protection stepping in. Archangel Michael moves where truth has been established, and you establish truth through your action. This is why there is urgency in this message. Because when he steps forward, it means something is already in motion that must not be missed. It means that what is coming toward you is not distant, it is approaching. And it requires your awareness, your readiness, and your willingness to receive it without hesitation. There are things that have tried to stand in your way before, obstacles that delayed you, confusion that clouded your path, resistance that made you question whether you were moving in the right direction. But understand this now, those things do not have the same authority anymore. Something has changed. Because when Archangel Michael steps in, interference loses its hold. This does not mean challenges will never appear again. But it does mean they will not have the same power over you. It means that what once slowed you down will no longer define your movement. It means that you are now walking with a level of protection that is directly connected to your alignment. And that alignment was proven. This is why his message carries weight. He is not here to simply announce something. He is here to ensure that what has been released reaches you fully. That you do not second-guess it. That you do not turn away from it. That you do not shrink back just as things begin to unfold. Because that is where many miss their moment. They act in faith once but then doubt what follows. They take a step forward but hesitate when the path begins to open. They receive a sign but question whether it is real. You must not do that now. You have already crossed the point of hesitation. You have already made the decision that shifted everything. And now, you are being guided to continue in that same alignment without fear. Archangel Michael is making it clear. This cannot be delayed. What is being released toward you is not meant to wait. It is not meant to be postponed by doubt or uncertainty. It is meant to be received in the same spirit in which your action was given, fully, openly, and without resistance. This is why you are being prepared. Because the next phase is not about proving yourself anymore. It is about receiving what has already been set into motion. And receiving requires trust. It requires you to stand in the same faith that brought you here, even when you cannot yet see the full picture. It requires you to remain steady, even when things begin to shift quickly. It requires you to understand that what is happening now is not something you need to control. It is something you need to allow. Archangel Michael stands at the threshold of this moment, not as a distant figure, but as a present force ensuring that your path is clear and your blessing is secured. You are not alone in this. You are being guided, protected, and positioned. And what is coming next will confirm everything. What is coming toward you now is not random, and it is not something that has been loosely assigned. It is precise, is intentional, and it carries a depth that matches exactly what was released through your action on May 31st. This is what must be understood clearly. Your reward is not general, it is personal. Heaven does not respond with something vague when a moment of true alignment takes place. It responds with accuracy. It responds with something that fits your journey, your struggles, your prayers, and even the silent desires you have never spoken out loud. This is why what is approaching you will feel different. It will not feel forced. It will not feel out of place. You will not feel confusing. Instead, it will feel like something that belongs to you. Something that connects deeply with where you are and where you are meant to go next. For some, this kind of reward comes as restoration. Things that felt broken begin to come back together in a way that is stronger than before. Relationships that seemed lost find clarity or closure. Emotional wounds that have been carried for a long time begin to heal in a way that feels real, not temporary. For others, it comes as opportunity. Doors that were once closed begin to open without struggle. Paths that seemed blocked suddenly become clear. You may find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, or receiving the right insight exactly when you need it. And for many, it comes as a shift within, a deeper sense of peace, a stronger sense of identity, a confidence that is not based on external validation, but on something internal that cannot be shaken. The form may differ, but the source is the same. It is a divine response. And what makes this moment so powerful is that this response is already aligned with you. It is not something you have to chase. It is not something you have to force into existence. It is something that has already been released and is now making its way into your reality. This is why Archangel Michael emphasized readiness. Because when something is already in motion, your role is not to create it. It is to receive it. And receiving requires awareness. It requires you to recognize when something is unfolding in your favor. It requires you to stay open when things begin to shift. It requires you to trust that what is arriving is not coincidence, but confirmation. There may be moments where you question it. You may wonder if it is too good to be true. You may hesitate because it feels unfamiliar. You may even feel a sense of disbelief because of how long you have waited or how much you have gone through. But this is where your faith must remain steady, because the same faith that allowed you to act in alignment is now needed to accept what follows. Do not shrink back now. Do not question what has already been prepared for you. Do not allow past disappointments to cloud what is being placed in front of you. This reward is not connected to your past failures. It is connected to your present alignment. And that alignment has already been recognized. You must also understand that divine rewards do not always arrive in the way you expect, but they always arrive in the way you need. What is coming may exceed your expectations, or it may appear differently than you imagined, but it will carry a certainty that lets you know it is right. There will be a sense of peace within it, a sense of confirmation that does not require explanation. That is how you will know. This is not about wishful thinking. This is about a response that has already been activated. And now, you are stepping into the phase where it becomes visible. Everything you have gone through, every delay, every moment of confusion, every time you felt like nothing was happening, was leading to this point of alignment. And once alignment is reached, movement begins. That movement has already started. You are no longer waiting for something to happen. You are now watching something unfold. And as it unfolds, you must remain grounded, present, and open. Because what is coming is not just a moment. It is a shift. A transition into something that reflects the truth of who you are becoming. This is your reward. Not something temporary, not something surface level, but something meaningful, something that carries purpose, something that will leave a lasting impact on your path. And as it approaches, remember this: what you did on May 31st with the key. And now, the door it unlocked is opening. There is something you were never meant to fully see in that moment, because if you had, it might have overwhelmed you. But now, you are ready to understand it. What happened on May 31st was not just a personal decision. It was a turning point in a battle that had been unfolding around you for far longer than you realize. This was not a visible battle. There were no clear signs, no obvious warnings, no outward evidence of what was taking place. But in the unseen realm, there was tension. There was resistance. There were forces trying to keep things exactly as they were, unchanged, unmoved, and locked in a cycle that had been repeating itself in your life. You may have felt this without being able to explain it. Moments where things always worked out, but then didn't. Times when you felt close to a breakthrough, only to be pulled back again. A lingering sense that something was holding you in place, even when you were trying to move forward. That was not your imagination. That was resistance. And resistance does not always come in obvious forms. Sometimes it appears as doubt. Sometimes it appears as fear. Sometimes it appears as confusion or exhaustion. It clouds your thinking, weakens your confidence, and makes you question your direction. Its goal is simple: to keep you from aligning fully. Because alignment changes everything. And on May 31st, you aligned. That is why the battle intensified in that moment. Not because you were losing, but because you were about to break through. When you made that decision, when you chose truth over fear, something shifted instantly. The resistance that had been surrounding you lost its grip. The pattern that had been repeating itself was interrupted. The cycle that had been trying to continue was broken. And this is where Archangel Michael stepped in with force. He did not step in gently. He stepped in with authority. Because once alignment is established, it must be protected. The moment you acted, you created an opening. And in that opening, there was a need for immediate defense, to ensure that what had just been unlocked would not be reversed or stolen. This is the part you did not see. There was movement. There was intervention. There was a clearing that took place around you, removing what had been trying to block your progress. And it happened quickly, because your action gave permission for that intervention to occur. You may have noticed something afterward. A sudden calm. A release of pressure. A quiet shift in your thoughts. That was not random. That was the result of the battle changing direction. Because for the first time in a long time, the resistance was no longer leading. It was retreating. And you were no longer reacting. You were advancing. This is why everything feels different now, even if you cannot fully explain it. Because something that had been weighing on you has been lifted. Something that had been holding you back has been moved aside. You crossed a line. Not a physical line, but a spiritual one. A line between delay and movement. A line between resistance and alignment. A line between waiting and receiving. And once that line is crossed, things cannot go back to how they were before. This is why what is coming next carries so much power. Because it is not just a reward, it is a continuation of the breakthrough you initiated. The battle you didn't see has already shifted in your favor. And now, you are stepping into the results of that shift. But listen carefully, because this part matters. Even though the battle has changed, you must remain steady. Do not let old thoughts try to return. Do not allow doubt to re-enter through familiar patterns. Do not question the shift just because you cannot see every detail yet. The victory did not come from what you saw. It came from what you chose. And that choice still stands. Archangel Michael is still present, ensuring that what has been cleared remains clear. Ensuring that what has been opened remains open. Ensuring that your path continues forward without being pulled back into what once held you. You are no longer in the same position. You are no longer under the same weight. You are no longer facing the same resistance. The battle has already turned. And now, what lies ahead is not struggle, but movement. Movement that will begin to show itself more clearly with each passing moment. Movement that will confirm that what you felt was real. Movement that will reveal that what you did changed everything. There is a reason this moment did not come earlier, and there is a reason it could not be delayed any longer. What happened on May 31st was not SL Huchaadikaktieno placed in your life. It was precisely timed. Every delay, every waiting season, every moment where you felt like nothing was moving was all leading to this exact point of alignment. This had to happen now. Not before you were ready. Not after the moment had passed. But exactly when your spirit reached the place where your action would carry the weight it needed to carry. You see, timing in the physical world often feels frustrating. It can feel slow, confusing, even unfair. You may have asked yourself many times, why is this taking so long? Or why hasn't anything changed yet? But what you could not see was that something was being formed within you during that waiting. You were being prepared. Prepared to respond differently. Prepared to choose alignment when it mattered most. Prepared to act from a place of truth, not reaction. Because if this moment had come earlier, you might not have responded the same way. You might have chosen based on emotion instead of clarity. You might have reacted from pain instead of strength. You might have missed the opportunity to create the shift that has now taken place. This is why the waiting was necessary. Not to hold you back, but to build you up. Not to delay your progress, but to refine your response. Every challenge you faced, every situation that tested your patience, every moment where you felt stretched beyond your comfort zone, it was all shaping you into the person who could make the decision you made on May 31st. And that decision required everything you had learned. It required your growth. It required your resilience. It required your ability to stand firm even when things were unclear. That is why it could not happen before now. Because now you were ready. And once readiness meets opportunity, alignment is created. That is exactly what happened. There is also something deeper to understand about timing. It is not just about you. It is about everything connected to you. There are people, circumstances, and outcomes that are part of what is unfolding. And all of those elements had to reach a certain point before this moment could take place. Heaven does not move randomly. It moves with precision. Every piece had to be in position. Every factor had to be aligned. Every detail had to be ready. And when all of that came together, your action became the final key. The moment you chose alignment, everything that had been prepared behind the scenes was activated. This is why the response was immediate. Because the delay was never about denial, it was about preparation. And once preparation is complete, movement begins quickly. You are in that movement now. This is also why you may begin to notice changes happening at a faster pace than before. Things that once took time may begin to unfold more easily. Situations that felt complicated may begin to resolve themselves. Opportunities may appear in ways that feel almost unexpected. That is not coincidence. That is acceleration. Because once divine timing is reached, there is no need for delay. Everything begins to flow. But here is where your awareness becomes important. Do not look back at the waiting season with frustration. Do not question why things took as long as they did. Do not allow yourself to feel like time was wasted. Nothing was wasted. Every moment had a purpose. Every delay had a reason. Every experience added something that was necessary for this exact point in time. And now that you are here, you must fully step into it. Do not hesitate. Do not doubt. Do not shrink back. Because this is the moment everything has been building toward. This is the moment where your past meets your future. This is the moment where preparation turns into manifestation. And this is why Archangel Michael is making it clear. This is not something to overlook or take lightly. You are standing in a time of alignment. A time where what you do, what you believe, and how you respond carries even greater impact than before. Because now, you are not acting from a place of waiting. You are acting from a place of movement. Everything has shifted. And as you move forward from this point, you will begin to see why it all had to happen exactly the way it did and exactly when it did. Because now, the path ahead is open. And what is coming next will make the timing undeniable. There is a door in front of you right now, and it is not symbolic. It is real in the sense that it represents a shift that is already beginning to take form in your life. This door was not always accessible to you. In fact, there were times when you stood near it without even realizing it was there, and other times when you tried to move forward but felt blocked, redirected, or delayed. But something has changed. That door is no longer closed. It is opening. And the reason it is opening now is because of the alignment you stepped into on May 31st. What you did not just create a reaction. It created access. Access to something that had been prepared, something that had been waiting for the exact moment when you would be ready to walk through it. This is why the message carries urgency with the words "open now." Because a door that opens in divine timing is not meant to be ignored, delayed, or questioned into stillness. It is meant to be recognized and stepped into with the same faith that caused it to open in the first place. But here is where many miss their moment. They stand at the doorway, but instead of walking through, they hesitate. They question whether it is real. They wonder if they are truly ready. They look back at their past and begin to doubt whether they deserve what is in front of them. Do not do that now. This door did not open by accident. It opened because something within you aligned with something beyond you. And that alignment is what gave you access. What lies beyond this door will not look exactly the same for everyone, but for you, it will carry a sense of rightness. It may come as an opportunity that feels almost perfectly timed. It may appear as a conversation that leads to something unexpected. It may show itself as a sudden clarity about what you need to do next. It could even come in a way you did not anticipate at all. But when it arrives, you will feel it. There will be a knowing within you that this is not random. This is connected. This is what has been forming. This is what you are meant to step into. And when that moment comes, you must not allow hesitation to hold you back. Because hesitation can close what faith has opened. This is why Archangel Michael is emphasizing readiness. Because the door is not opening in the distance, it is opening in your present. And when something opens in the present, it requires a present response. Not overthinking, not delaying, not stepping back, but moving forward. There may still be uncertainty. You may not have all the answers. You may not see the entire path beyond the door. But you do not need to. You only need to take the step. Because once you step through, more will be revealed. That is how divine movement works. Clarity follows action, not the other way around. You are not being asked to figure everything out. You are being asked to trust what has already been aligned for you. And that trust must now become movement. This is also a moment where you must release any lingering attachment to what was behind you. The door you are stepping through is not connected to your past limitations. It is not tied to the cycles that once held you. It is not influenced by the doubts that once slowed you down. It is new. And new requires openness. It requires you to let go of what no longer belongs in this next phase of your life. Because you cannot carry the old into the new and expect it to fully unfold. This is your invitation to step forward, fully, without hesitation, without fear, without looking back. Because what is waiting on the other side of this door is not just a moment. It is a continuation of everything that has been set into motion for you. And it is ready, right now. If this message is speaking directly to your spirit, then respond with faith. Type "I step through the door" in the comments as a declaration that you are ready to move forward. Blessing code 882 has now been activated over your path. And as you stand at this open door, understand this. Your step of faith does not just affect your life. It creates a ripple that reaches others who are still waiting for their breakthrough. If your heart feels called to be part of spreading this message, then act on that calling. There is a PayPal link in the description and a QR code available where you can release your seed. This is not simply giving. It is sowing into a field where lives are being awakened and transformed. The word declares, "As you sow, so shall you reap." And this is a living moment of that truth. Say it within yourself. I sow into purpose, and I receive divine overflow. Do not hesitate. Step forward in obedience, and let your action unlock even greater blessings. Not only for you, but for every soul this message will reach. There are always signs when something has already been set into motion in the spiritual realm. These signs are not sluchakaki. They are not coincidences. They are confirmations. Subtle at times, but unmistakable when you begin to notice them. And right now, you are either starting to see these signs or you are about to. The first sign is an internal shift that you cannot fully explain. It may feel like a quiet sense of peace that appears even when your external situation has not completely changed yet. It may feel like a calm confidence rising within you, replacing the doubt that once occupied your thoughts. This is not something you forced. It is something that had been placed within you as a result of the alignment you step into. This peace is a signal. It is the foundation being set before the manifestation becomes visible. Another sign is a sudden clarity about things that once felt confusing. Situations that seemed complicated may begin to make sense. Decisions that felt overwhelming may now feel simple. You may find yourself knowing what to do without overthinking, without second-guessing, without hesitation. That clarity is not coming from logic alone. It is coming from alignment. Because when you are aligned, direction becomes clearer. You may also notice changes in your environment. Not always dramatic at first, but meaningful. Conversations may shift. People may respond differently to you. Opportunities may begin to appear in places you did not expect. Even small changes, like the right message reaching you at the right time or the right idea coming into your mind, are part of this movement. These are not random events. They are pieces of something larger unfolding. Another powerful sign is the closing of certain things that no longer belong in your life. This may feel uncomfortable at first because endings are not always easy. But understand this clearly: what is leaving is making space for what is arriving. You cannot step fully into what is coming if you are still holding on to what has already served its purpose. So if something is shifting away, do not resist it. Do not chase it. Do not try to force it to stay. Trust that it is part of the process, because every ending connected to this moment is intentional. There is also a heightened sense of awareness that may begin to grow within you. You may become more sensitive to what feels right and what does not. You may notice that your intuition is stronger, guiding you more clearly than before. This is not something to ignore. This is guidance. This is how you are being led. Follow it, because it is connected to the path that is opening for you. You may even experience moments where things begin to align so perfectly that it feels almost unreal. Timing becomes precise. Doors open at exactly the right moment. Delays that once frustrated you seem to disappear. Things begin to flow in a way that feels natural, effortless, and connected. This is what happens when movement begins. This is what it looks like when something has already been released and is now reaching you. But here is what you must remember in all of this. Do not wait for every sign to appear before you believe. Do not require constant confirmation before you move. The signs are there to strengthen your faith, not replace it. Because what is happening right now is already real. You are not waiting for something to begin. You are witnessing something that has already begun to unfold. And as these signs become more visible, your responsibility is to stay aligned with them. Do not fall back into doubt. Do not question what is already moving in your favor. Do not allow fear to interrupt what has already been set into motion. Instead, recognize each sign for what it is: a confirmation that you are on the right path, a confirmation that your action matters, a confirmation that what is coming is closer than you think, because it is, closer than you realize, closer than it has ever been before. And as you continue to move forward, these signs will become stronger, clearer, and more undeniable, until the moment arrives where what you have been sensing becomes something you can finally see. And when that moment comes, you will understand why everything unfolded the way it did. And now that everything has been set into motion, there is something required from you, not to create what is coming, but to align yourself fully with it. This is the moment where your response determines how smoothly and powerfully this next phase unfolds in your life. What you do now matters, not because it changes what has already been released, but because it positions you to receive it without resistance. The first thing you must do is remain grounded in faith. Not a temporary kind of belief that shifts with circumstances, but a steady, unwavering trust that what has begun will continue to unfold exactly as it should. There may still be moments where you feel uncertainty. There may be times when things do not make complete sense yet. But this is not the time to question. This is the time to trust. Because doubt does not stop what is coming, but it can delay how you experience it. You must also stay present. Do not get lost in overthinking the future or analyzing every possible outcome. What is unfolding is not meant to be controlled by your thoughts. It is meant to be received through your awareness. Pay attention to what is happening around you. Notice the shifts. Recognize the opportunities. Be fully engaged with the moment you are in. Because what you are looking for is not far away. It is appearing in front of you, step by step. Another important step is to release the need to control how everything happens. This can be difficult, especially if you have been through situations where things did not go as planned before. You may feel the urge to hold on tightly, to try to manage every detail, to make sure nothing goes wrong. But understand this, what is coming is not dependent on your control. It is guided, and guidance does not require force. It requires cooperation. Allow things to unfold. Allow doors to open naturally. Allow connections to form without trying to rush or shape them. When something is aligned, it does not need to be forced into place. It settles into place on its own. You must also remain open. Sometimes, what arrives may not look exactly like what you expected. It may come in a different form. It may appear in a way that challenges your assumptions. But that does not mean it is not what you ask for or what you need. Stay open to the possibility that what is coming is better than what you imagined. Because often, it is. Gratitude is another key part of this moment. Not just gratitude for what is coming, but gratitude for what has already been done. Recognize the shift that has taken place. Acknowledge the action you took. Honor the alignment you stepped into. Because gratitude strengthens connection. It keeps you aligned with the flow of what is unfolding. Even a simple moment of acknowledgement, pausing and recognizing that something has changed, can deepen your ability to receive what is coming next. At the same time, you must guard your mind. Old thoughts may try to return. Doubts may attempt to re-enter. You may hear internal voices questioning whether this is real, whether it will last, whether you are truly ready. Do not give those thoughts power. They are echoes of what you have already moved beyond. You are not in the same place anymore. You are not operating from the same level anymore. And you must not allow old patterns to interfere with new movement. Stay aligned with truth. Stay aligned with what you felt in that moment on May 31st. Because that is what brought you here, and that is what will carry you forward. Finally, be willing to act when the moment comes. Faith is not passive, it is active. When you see the opportunity, take it. When you feel the nudge, follow it. When the door opens, walk through it. Do not wait for perfect certainty. Move with trust. Because everything that is unfolding now is responding to the action you already took. And the next step is simply a continuation of that same alignment. You are not starting something new. You are continuing something that has already begun. And as you continue, everything will become clearer. Everything will begin to take shape. Everything will begin to confirm that what you felt was real, and that what is coming is already yours to receive. There is a shift happening now that you cannot ignore, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. What once felt slow is beginning to move. What once felt delayed is starting to align. What once seemed distant is drawing closer with a speed that may even surprise you. This is the phase of acceleration, and it has already begun. You may notice it in subtle ways at first. A quicker response where there used to be silence. A clearer path where there used to be confusion. A sense that things are falling into place without the same level of effort you once had to give. This is not coincidence. This is the result of alignment meeting divine timing. When those two come together, movement increases. This is why things may feel different now. Not overwhelming, but noticeable. Not chaotic, but active. There is a rhythm forming, a flow that is guiding you forward without forcing you. And the more you stay aligned with that flow, the more natural everything will begin to feel. Acceleration does not always mean everything happens at once. It means that what used to take long periods of time now begins to unfold more efficiently. It means that delays are removed. It means that resistance no longer has the same influence it once did. And most importantly, it means that what has already been released is now reaching you faster. You may begin to see connections forming that you did not expect. Situations may resolve themselves in ways that feel almost effortless. Opportunities may appear without you having to search for them. This is how acceleration works. It brings things to you as much as it moves you toward them. But there is something important you must remember during this phase. Do not rush ahead of the flow. Acceleration is not the same as urgency driven by fear. It is movement guided by alignment. If you try to force things to happen faster than they are meant to, you can disrupt the natural progression that is already working in your favor. Stay in sync. Move when you feel the clarity. Pause when you need to observe. Trust the rhythm that is forming around you. Because this rhythm is not random, it is guided. There may also be moments where the speed of change feels unfamiliar. You may find yourself adjusting to new circumstances, new opportunities, or even a new way of thinking. This is part of the process. Growth often requires adjustment, and adjustment can feel uncomfortable at first. But do not mistake discomfort for misalignment. Sometimes, it is simply the feeling of stepping into something greater than what you were used to. And that is exactly what is happening now. You are stepping into a space where things are no longer held back in the same way, where movement is no longer restricted, where progress is not slowed by the same obstacles that once stood in your path. This is why Archangel Michael's presence remains steady, because acceleration requires stability. It requires protection. It requires guidance to ensure that everything unfolds as it should, without interference or confusion. And that guidance is with you. You are not navigating this alone. Every step you take is being supported. Every movement you make is being observed and guided. This is why you can move forward with confidence, even if you do not have every detail figured out. Because you are not being led into uncertainty. You are being led into alignment. And alignment brings clarity. As this acceleration continues, you will begin to see results more clearly. What you once sensed internally will begin to appear externally. What you once believed quietly will begin to manifest visibly. This is the confirmation. This is the evidence. This is the moment where everything starts to connect. And when it does, you will understand why the timing mattered, why the action you took was so powerful, and why everything is now moving the way it is. But until that moment fully reveals itself, stay steady, stay aligned, stay open. Because acceleration is not something you chase. It is something you step into. And you are already in it. Everything is moving now. Everything is unfolding now. Everything is coming together now. And very soon, you will see it with your own eyes. Not as a possibility, but as a reality that has finally arrived. Beloved, now is the moment to become still. Not because nothing is happening, but because everything is. You have walked through revelation, through understanding, through a shift that began with a single act of alignment on May 31st. And now, you stand in a space that is no longer about striving, no longer about searching, no longer about wondering if something will happen. It is happening. And your role now is not to chase it, but to receive it. There is a deep peace available to you in this moment, a kind of peace that does not depend on external proof, but rests in a quiet knowing, a knowing that what you did mattered, a knowing that heaven responded, a knowing that what is coming is already yours, because it was released in direct response to your alignment. Let that peace settle into you now. You do not need to force anything into place. You do not need to rush ahead. You do not need to question whether you are worthy. You are already positioned. You are already seen. You are already chosen for this moment. Archangel Michael's presence remains with you, not as a distant force, but as a steady covering, a protection over what has been activated in your life. His message is no longer urgent in the sense of warning. It is now steady in the sense of assurance. You are safe to receive. You are clear to move forward. You are ready. And as this next phase unfolds, allow yourself to embrace it fully. Do not hold back your gratitude. Do not limit your expectation. Do not shrink your belief to match what you have experienced before. Because what is coming is not tied to your past. It is tied to your alignment. There will be moments where you look back and realize just how far you have come. Moments where you understand why things had to happen the way they did. Moments where clarity replaces every question you once had. And in those moments, you will feel it fully, the confirmation, the fulfillment, the reward. But even now, before all of that becomes visible, you can rest in the truth that it is already in motion. You can breathe without tension. You can stand without fear. You can move forward without hesitation. Because you are no longer waiting. You are receiving. Let this be your final posture, not one of striving, but one of openness. Not one of doubt, but one of trust. Not one of fear, but one of peace. And as you stand in this peace, know this: what you did on May 31st did not just touch heaven, it moved it. And heaven has already answered you. If your spirit feels this truth deeply, then respond with faith. Type "I receive my divine reward" in the comments as a declaration that you are open and ready. Blessing code 999 has now been released over your life. And now, as this sacred moment settles into your spirit, hear this clearly. What has just been opened in your life is not meant to stop with you. It is meant to flow like a river, reaching others who are still waiting in silence for their sign, their breakthrough, their confirmation. The Lord is speaking even now. As you pour out, I will pour into you, a measure pressed down, shaken together, and overflowing. This is your moment to act. Say within your heart, I am a vessel for this message, and I release my seed into this divine work. As you give through the super thanks with a PayPal link in the description, you are not just supporting. You are sowing into fertile ground where souls are awakening every single day. This is a prophetic act, a step of obedience that aligns you even deeper with the flow that has just been activated over your life. Do not delay. Do not hesitate. Step into this moment with bold faith. And as you give, may the same divine reward that has been released over you multiply, overflow, and return to you in ways that will leave no doubt that heaven has truly answered your call.